last time we already have covered this. So today, we should cover this part. Therefore, in emptiness, there's no form, no perception, no conception, no volition, no consciousness, no I, and so on, no form, and so on, no realm of the eyes, and so on. The Sutra already have explained sunyata, causation, or emptiness. Now, from therefore in emptiness, there's no form is a repetition, but a repetition in detail as to why we should understand causation, sunyata. And here, a lot of negations, no form, no, how many no's are there? So there's 6 no's, and 6 no's, and here, 3, 6 is 18. There's 18 negatives, 18 non-attachment. This 18 reminders of non-attachments are directed towards the sentient beings like us. So the sutra, in saying there's no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, and then no forms, sound, taste, touch, and then no realm of the ears, eyes, and nose, that's directed towards telling these, the 6 wellings, not to attach. And then after the Buddha remind these 6 wellings, we are one of the 6 in here. We are the humans, right? And there's the heavenly beings, asuras, there is the spirits, there's the animals realm, and there's also the hell realms, the 6 realms of rebirth. 3, 6 is 18. The 18 reminders of no attachment are reminders to this, to people, the 6 wellings. And then in the next paragraph, no ignorance, nor its extinction up to no OH and death, nor the extinction. Now that is to remind the Pratyeka Buddha not to attach to the paticca samuppada, not to attach to, oh, there's a way to become the Buddha, not to attach even to the way. That means we sentient beings, us, we need a ship to go to, say, Nanaimo, Sunshine Coast, to go to Victoria. After we arrive, we become enlightened, we don't get ashore, we still attach to the ship. The Buddha said, don't attach to the ship for those who are enlightened. Don't attach to paticca samuppada. So that is no ignorance up to nor the extinctions. It's directed towards the Pratyeka Buddha, reminding them not to attach. And there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no extinction, no path. That is the Four Noble Truth, telling the Sravakas not to attach. There is no wisdom and also no attainment because there's no object to be obtained. That reminds the Bodhisattvas not to attach to the way. With that, let's carry on. So we say the Buddha reminds us not to attach to the 6 organs. So he said, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. And then no objects, no matter, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch. Don't attach to objects. And then don't attach to the consciousness arising from organs interacting with the objects. So no eye consciousness or realm of the eyes. Realm of the eyes is just like consciousness. No realm of the eye, no realm of the ear, no realm of the nose, tongue, body, and mano, on the mind. So that's the 18 realms. So the sutra reminds us that we sentient beings, we're humans, don't attach to cosmic existence. Don't attach to the 2 dharmas, don't attach to the 5 skandhas. And this 5 skandhas, of course, if you break it down into detail, would be eye, ear, nose, and so on, with the 6 organs, 6 objects, and 6 consciousnesses. And of course, the 5 skandhas is matter, sensation, perception, volition, and consciousness. So you now see the structure of the whole sutra. The structure of the whole sutra has its logic in it. First of all, it tells you the meaning of sunyata, the meaning of causation. And then it even tells you, even the Buddha's teaching, you have to throw it away. Finally, even don't attach to the theory, don't attach to the practice, Don't attach to the rams. Don't attach to the Four Noble Truth. Don't attach to enlightenment of these 18 rams. Don't attach to wisdom. The Buddha said, everything is impermanent. Including what I said is also impermanent. So why do you attach to what I said? If the Buddha said everything is impermanent, everything is causation, everything is empty, that means what the Buddha said is also impermanent. What the Buddha said is also empty. What the Buddha said is also sunyata. That's the complete understanding. Not to say, I am supernatural, I am God, believe in everything I say. All the others are impermanent, but what I said is permanent. There must be a problem in it. If everything is impermanent, how can what you say is permanent? That's not even simple logic. If I said, everything is wrong in this world, but what I said is right, there must be a problem in it, because everything is wrong. How can there be still one thing that is right? And you may term that God, only God is right. Everything is wrong. How can that be? If everything is wrong, even God is wrong. That's exactly what the Buddha is talking about. My words are only bring you to the shore. When you get ashore, you got to leave the boat, step ashore. My words are only for you to get ashore. Get rid of the words. Okay, so no 6 organs, no 6 objects, and no 6 consciousnesses. That means don't attach to your senses. Don't attach to the interaction that your senses interact to. When your eyes interact with matter, what arises? Eye consciousness arises, right? Eye consciousness includes many mental functions in it. Greediness, hatred, jealousy, fear, depression, worries, negligence, parsimony, arrogance, ego. All these mental functions in the consciousness arises in you. You're being led away by your sensation. You interact accordingly. You habitually will do what your actions will carry it through. What happened to your ears? Your ears interact with what? Sound, right? What happened if your ears listen to dulcet music, pleasant music? You have a sensual pleasure, so you like it. You're involved with it. You cling to it. Another example is somebody criticizes you with no reason. You get infuriated. You immediately respond by yelling back. Or somebody praises you. Oh, you get very high. You become very happy because your consciousness of pleasant feeling comes up. So you're all interacting. You're all looking for what? Sensual pleasures to satisfy your eyes, your ears. And then what happens to the nose? Your nose interact with smell, and your nose want to smell fragrance. Your tongue interact with taste. Well, then you say, isn't that normal? Of course, my tongue interact with taste. Don't you have taste at all? Yeah, your tongue interact with taste, and then the tongue consciousness arises, and you like to taste the animal flesh. Because you want to satisfy your taste, the slaughterhouses slaughter cows, pigs, chickens, ducks. They slaughter animals for you. You are indirectly slaughtering them. If you don't need them, if you don't need their taste, the slaughterhouses don't need to slaughter animals, right? The same holds true for body. The body interacts with touch. My body, your body, or some ladies would feel that way. I want to interact with the softness of cloth, the tenderness of fur, and because some ladies like fur, so fur coat manufacturers, they kill mink for the fur. They smoke them. They smoke thousands of mink just to get the fur. They kill the mink for the fur. And this lady's put on $1,000 of mink coat, and they walk the catwalk, and they say, oh, this is wonderful. Because your body wants a touch of this mink fur, and you don't care about killing animals for fur. Rabbits, tiger skin, and lion skin. And more than just that, our bodies want to live in luxury homes of Shaughnessy. We're yearning for living in luxury homes, and we're yearning for driving my body wants to drive a Ferrari. I don't want to drive a Volkswagen. I want to drive... my body is always in constant acquisition of materialistic needs to satisfy my sensual pleasures. And in the process of doing this, what happened? You will by all means try to satisfy your sensual pleasures. And in the process of doing it, you don't care about what? You don't care about lying. You don't care about killing. You don't care about all these things as long as you can satisfy your sensual pleasure. And you term that satisfaction of my sensual pleasure is quote unquote happiness. And I'm looking for happiness. And the Buddha said, can you distinguish between happiness and sensual pleasure? You're always in search of maximizing your sensual pleasure, but in vain. You can never maximize your sensual pleasure all the time, because pleasure is temporary, it's impermanent. How can you be in constant acquisition of pleasure, of sensual pleasures? Plus, what did your sensual pleasures bring you? Unhappiness. Because you always have insatiable desires. Because if you don't have money, you want to make all the money you want to satisfy your sensual pleasures. And if you don't have money, you just seek your sensual pleasures by force. You break the rule, you become a criminal. And what does an individual do in the blind, forceful acquisition of temporary sensual pleasure? He or she could commit crimes. If I put that word acquisition of sensual pleasures is my objective, if I flip the newspapers, how do I fit all these crimes into that category? Many things. Flip to the newspapers, you can fit into that categories. Acquisition of sensual pleasures would bring you what? So the Buddha said, you have mistaken sensual pleasure for happiness. Happiness is not just acquisition of sensual pleasures. Happiness related to what? Peacefulness of the mind. Because in looking for sensual pleasures, your mind is not at peace. Your mind is suffering. Your mind is not balanced. Only when your mind is not disturbed, only when your mind is peaceful, only your mind is like a blue sky, one blueness, no clouds, like the lake that has no impurities in it. Only when your mind is not disturbed, at complete peace, will you have real happiness. But we're not enlightened. We still are looking for that. We may say, no, I'm not looking for sensual pleasures. I just want to become a doctor. I'm not looking for sensual pleasures. But behind, what his ego tells him? If I become a doctor, I will be highly respected. I will make a lot of money. I will have a high status in the society. And then my parents will be happy if I, all this or that. You are fulfilling your sensual pleasures of your ego. You don't even know about it. The Buddha said, get rid of all these. Get rid of all these 18 rams. Negate them. Not just pessimistically, not just without method. Trying to find ways to get rid of this. In a sutra, it simply tells you a summary. No eye, no ears, no toe, no tongue, no body, no mind, no matter, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch. Actually, it's not just a force to say no, 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 no. It's just to give you a generalization. You have to negate this. Don't cling to these. If you are successful in not clinging to this, not attaching to this, you're gradually on your path of enlightenment. You're gradually going towards nirvana. You may be a Pratyeka Buddha, which is already out from rebirth, samsara. You may be a Sravaka, which is also out from samsara, or Bodhisattva, also out from samsara. So, getting back to, therefore in emptiness there's no form. In other words, there's no form, no perception, no conception, no volition, none of these negate this. Because why? Because all these things arise out of causation. They're dependent, one dependent on the other. They're empty, but we don't think that way they're empty. We don't think that way they're sunyata. We think that they exist, but they only exist on causation, on causes and conditions. So you're satisfying your body, which exists on conditions, and you are committing all kinds of bad deeds and bad karma just to upkeep this body. Whereas this body will finally, after 100 years, will go. But during this 100 years, what did you do? An atrocious king, what did he do? He occupied territories. He overthrew his brothers, killed his brothers to become a king. He've done all these things just to get that power. But in the process of getting that power, he may not realize he created a lot of bad karma, which would drive him down to hell. He never think about that. Nobody reminded him. He never thought of the Buddha's teaching. He never thought of a sage's teaching that, look, watch what you're doing. Watch your eyes, watch your nose, ears. Watch your thinking. So, in the Buddhist teaching, we said, every thought counts, not just your action. Watch your thinking. And then the Sutra continued to say, no ignorance, no extinction, up to no old age and death, nor the extinction. Now let us stop at this point now. I already explained the 18 rams that apply to us, the sentient beings, the 6 dwellings. And now the Buddha directed his guidance to what? To the Pratyeka Buddha, to the one who are enlightened. And he, the enlightened one, still attached to the method of enlightenment. Even that method has to be got rid of. So what is this method? The Pratyeka Buddha, what did he use to get enlightenment? We call it the 12 dependent origination. The Pratyeka Buddha, what is Pratyeka Buddha? Pratyeka Buddha, the enlightened person, when he was enlightened, he did not depend on the Buddha's teaching because the Buddha did not exist in his period. He only did it by his self-realization when he looked at cosmic existence. When he observed summer, spring, autumn, winter, he observed impermanence, changeability. In other words, he attained an enlightenment through what? Through these 12 observations, the 12 dependent originations. In the Pali or Sanskrit language is Paticca Samuppada. Remember we chant Paticca Samuppada? What is Paticca Samuppada? The chain of causes and effects by which reincarnation occurs. Why do we take rebirth or quote-unquote reincarnations? After this life, when we die, is not the end of us. This death is the beginning of another life. There's no end to our samsara. When we die, it does not mean like a candle where the flame has been blown out and nothing, no more of us, or we exist. No. We roll with our karma into the next hotel. Remember my example of a hotel? Every body is just like a hotel. This body is like a hotel. You're a rich man, you're a healthy man, you're in a 6-star hotel. I'm a poor guy, I'm in a 3-star hotel. I'm poverty-stricken, tribulations and sufferings. My hotel is not as good as yours. Why? Because you've done a lot of causes to condition you to have that good hotel. And I have done something otherwise, vice versa. Which hotel you roll into depends on what you have done. You built your own hotel. You check in yourself. You check out yourself. It does not matter what hotels you live in. It's still the same person. You are that person. Then, why did we end up like this? It's because of our ignorance. Dependent on ignorance, volitional reaction arises. Remember I talked about reactions? When your senses react with externals, bad karma or good karma, not just bad. Sometimes you're compassionate, sometimes you're helpful, sometimes you show filial piety to your parents. Oh, they're nice people in this world. The next one, dependent on volition, consciousness arises. Because of what we do, because of our interaction, consciousness arises. When this consciousness arises, there's mental functions of greediness, hatred, disappointment, depression, fear, worries. All these arises too in you. So the Pratyeka Buddha, before he became the Pratyeka Buddha, he was meditating on all these things. Oh, because of ignorance, volition arises. Because volitions arises, consciousness arises. Dependent on consciousness, the mind and the body arises. Because of our consciousnesses that we create bad karma, when we die, we roll into the next hotel. And our initial hotel is in the mother's womb. That little baby. That little baby has mind and body. That baby is growing, growing, growing. So we have name and form. We have mind and body. And after this mind and body is formed, then the six senses are formed. When the ovary fuses with the spermatozoa of the male, first of all, that flesh is born. And then later, after a few months, the eyes, ears, nose, they slowly get developed. And until it came out from the mother's womb as a baby, it continued to develop. So you develop the six senses. Depending on the six senses, when you become a baby, you contact with the outside world. Your eyes contact with matter, your sound, your ears contact with sound, your nose contact with fragrance, your tongue contact with tastes. All these contacts arises. Your senses interact with all these external objects. And then because of this interaction with external objects, feelings arises. Sometimes pleasant feelings, sometimes unpleasant feelings, sometimes neutral feelings. All these feelings, if it's pleasant feelings, you have craving for. My body contact with fur, and I always remember my touch with fur, and I crave for a mink coat. And I have a relationship with a man with a woman, and a woman with a man, and I remember that has pleasant feelings, stimulation of hormones and all that, and I have craving for that. And you have a lot of cravings. We have a lot of cravings, right? Dependent on feelings, craving arises, and dependent on craving, and then you attach to these. So you become attached to your senses, sensual pleasures, because you don't do your relationship once. When you do it for the first time, you want a second time, because what? You're intoxicated with this. That's the reason for your reincarnation. The Buddha pointed out to us, but we don't care as we are looking for sensual pleasures. Only the wise would tell you. Particularly if you get involved with that kind of intoxication deeply and deeply, you get into trouble. And then depending on karma formation, rebirth occurs. Because you're building up all this karma, because of the karma you roll into the next hotel. Rebirth. When you die, you roll with all your bad karma or good karma into the next one. If you have much more good karma than bad karma, your next hotel is going to be a 6-star presidential suite. If you have a lot of bad karma, very few good karma, or 90% bad karma, you roll down into the hell as hell victims. If you have 60% approximately, there's no measurement for that. If there's 60% good karma and 40% bad karma, or if you have 60% bad karma and 40% good karma, you roll into the human realms, but you'll be a poor individual. You'll be an ugly individual. You'll encounter things that you don't want. So everybody is different because of different karma. Nothing to do with God. You walk your own path. You created your own karma. Watch yourself. Never too late. Don't involve in the bad karma anymore. So these are the paticca samuppada. And another way of looking at it, ignorance and volition regards to past life, conditions that are responsible for the occurrence of this life. All this consciousness, name and form, six senses, contact, sensation, craving, attachment, and karma formation, all deals with conditions that are responsible for the process of evolution within this life. In this life, we've gone through evolutions from consciousnesses to karma formation. And then future life, when you die, you're reborn again, and then you're subject to old age and death again, the future life, conditions for future life. So this is look at the 12 dependent origination from the perspective of sequential interpretation, time sequential. You want to look at the past, the present, the future. The fact that you're coming here is because of what you've done in the past life. So ignorance and volition carry you to this life. So past life, the present life, it's all these evolution. Your senses, your contact, your feelings, pleasant feeling, non-feeling, pleasant feeling, craving, attachment, all this is responsible for the present life. And this present life would take this karma again and roll into the next life. So this is like a chain, like a circle, like a windmill. Like a windmill that is never ending, never ending, never ending. Unless you stopped it. You stopped this wheel. Most people don't care about it, or they don't have the wisdom to care, or they were not told to care. So this is looking at the paticca samuppada from the sequential, time sequential interpretation. And last but not least, it will look at it from a cycle, from a cyclical interpretation. Ignorance is klesha, which is the Sanskrit word for mental defilements, because we have mental defilements. And all these mental defilements would make us think, would make us act, would make us speak and carry out karma. So volition is the karma level. And then all these consciousness up to old age and death are the suffering that we encounter. Those are the dukkha. So this is from a cycle interpretation of paticca samuppada. So if we don't explain it to you, if you don't get in the details, you just look at the words and you think, oh, this is the 12 dependent origination. There's a lot of philosophy in it, a lot of psychology in it, a lot of ultimate truth in it. And the meditator who was meditating in the forest tradition, he did not live in the time of the Buddha. He did not have any Buddhist teaching. He just watched phenomena around, and he come up with this chains. Oh, because we reincarnate is because of this paticca samuppada. And through this, they became enlightened. You know why? Because they cut ignorance. Because they cut ignorance, they cut karma. Because they cut karma, they annihilate karma, they cut consciousness, name, six senses, contact. Sequentially, they cut all these things, and when they have annihilated all these things, they become enlightened as the Buddha. So you know this is responsible for the chain of reincarnation. So you backtrack it and annihilate all these things. Don't let these things happen. That is an annihilation of paticca samuppada, because the Pratyeka Buddha annihilated all these things, destroy ignorance, destroy volitions. Through what? Through meditation. He destroyed all these. No more rebirth for him. He became the Pratyeka Buddha. But he's still attached to the method so involved. But he already got out from reincarnation. The Buddha told these saints, these enlightened people, the Buddha said, even your method, get rid of it. No method. No method. That will be more complete in your understanding of the wisdom. You already crossed the ocean of mental defilements. Step on shore. Don't attach to the ship. You already have crossed the ship. No more rebirth for you. You have already have using the ship to cross the ocean of rebirth. Now you are on shore. But you still have to get rid of the ship. Step on shore. That ship is the 12 dependent originations that the enlightened being, the Pratyeka Buddha, has to get rid of by stepping ashore. You see how complete the Buddhist teaching is? The Buddha taught something, and then he said, even that thing you have to go. Let go of it. None. Don't attach to anything.